Okay, let's just jump right in. We are starting this deep dive in, just a scene of absolute cosmic chaos. You have to imagine the TARDIS, this machine that's supposed to be a safe haven,
Their
inviolable.
one constant.
Exactly. And it's suddenly just being bombarded. It gets slammed off course by these violent bolts of multicolored energy, and that forces this catastrophic, uncontrolled crash landing.
And that impact, that sudden massive trauma, it triggers the most extreme biological crisis a Time Lord can even have, a forced regeneration. But the thing is, as deeply unsettling as that is for the Doctor personally, you realize almost immediately that it's just a symptom.
A symptom of something much bigger.
Right. A far more orchestrated danger. This wasn't some random accident, space debris or something. The TARDIS was expertly, and I mean brutally, hijacked.
It really was. And the source material for this whole deep dive, it's less a story and more of a blueprint for universal catastrophe. It just throws us right into the middle of this high-stakes, deeply personal conflict.
It's got everything.
It does. You've got a captured amnesiac time traveler, a rogue scientific genius, the Rani, who has, well, zero moral compass.
None whatsoever.
Then you have this desolate, subjugated planet called Lakertya. And on top of all that, a master scheme that uses stolen intellect. Literally stolen geniuses and the very concept of dark matter to fundamentally rewrite reality itself.
So our mission today, then, is to be your guides through this scientific and political labyrinth. We're not just going to summarize what happens. We're going to synthesize the core arguments, the insights from the source material.
Yeah, we're going to break it down.
We are. We're going to isolate the three most crucial threads that really define this crisis. First, we have to understand the immediate chaos of the Doctor's identity crisis. It's not just regeneration trauma. It's compounded by an amnesia weapon used against him.
And second, we'll peel back the layers of Lakertya itself. Why there? Why this specific planet? We'll analyze its political structure, the enforcers, these absolutely horrific creatures called the Tetraps, and the scientifically tailored methods of control she puts in place.
We really need to see how she turned an entire population so compliant.
Exactly. And finally, the big one. We're going to tackle the truly ambitious core of the plot, the scientific steps that bridge theoretical physics and just outright megalomania.
Oh, absolutely. This involves strange matter, chronons, and a colossal synthesized brain, all designed to turn an entire planet into a weapon capable of dominating and controlling time anywhere in the cosmos.
So settle in. This is the deep dive into time, geniuses, and the strange matter cataclysm.
Let's start right at the crash, inside the TARDIS. The source material spends a good amount of time setting the stage, really emphasizing the sheer physical violence of it all.
It's interesting because right before the energy hits, the Time Lord and his companion Mel are actually having this very domestic little spat.
Right. It's this moment of bizarre calm before the storm. Mel is doing her dedicated ritual, her fitness routine.
The skipping rope.
The skipping rope inside the console room, and the Doctor is complaining about it, fussing with his mop of fair curls as he checks the coordinates. And that description, by the way, it places us firmly with the sixth incarnation, showcasing that sometimes overblown theatrical nature of his right before the change.
But then the bombardment is just instantaneous, cataclysmic. It's described as a fragmented rainbow of energy, and it's so severe it causes complete console failure.
Total systems failure.
We get the details. The slide control for coordinate selection is just stuck. Yeah. All the readout displays are dead, and the main computer screen is completely blank.
And the turbulence is so violent it physically throws them. Mel's slim frame is pitched dizzyingly across the room. But the Doctor, in his patchwork coattail flying, he gets slammed headfirst right into the console plinth.
So the combined trauma of that energy blast and the physical concussion, it leaves them both just unmoving as the ship crashes on Lakertya.
And that's the fallout. Regeneration. The sixth Doctor transitions into the seventh. And the source material is really specific about the physical differences to emphasize just how drastic this change is.
Yeah, that rotundity is gone, replaced by a face that's small and delicately pointed. His flamboyant, fair curls are swapped for short, sleek, dark hair.
And critically, his clothes are all wrong. The massive exotic coat and plaid waistcoat now just flopped beyond the ends of his short arms.
It's physically diminished. He's only 5'6" now. But what's really important for our analysis isn't just the fashion change. It's the psychological shock. A forced, violent regeneration like this means his mind is already fractured. He's trying to integrate a new personality with old memories, and it's not going well.
And before he can even begin to process this new persona, he's captured. While he's still unconscious, the doctor is immediately taken by the Rani and her accomplice. But she makes a very deliberate tactical choice. She says, leave the girl.
That one decision really dictates the entire structure of the story, doesn't it?
It does. Mel, who is quickly identified by her curly red hair and her extreme fitness focus, she's always on about her health, is left behind. She's found by Ikona, a golden-maned Lakertyan cloaked in saffron yellow.
And the sources note that Ikona feels this palpable revulsion at touching her.
Yeah, which tells you a lot about the deep-seated xenophobia on this planet. He doesn't see her as a friend or an ally. He sees her as a valuable hostage.
So now we focus on the doctor. He wakes up on a workbench in the Rani's subterranean lab. And the Rani, who's a master of neurochemistry, she uses the amnesia weapon immediately.
Right away. A high-pressure syringe to the wrist, injecting this potent drug designed specifically to just wipe his memory clean. It's surgical evil.
And this leads to that next layer of manipulation, the disguise. The Rani is cold, she's calculating, and she really understands theatrical control. To keep the doctor docile, she needs him to trust his immediate surroundings.
So she adopts a perfect physical disguise of his companion. She puts on a red wig, clothes identical to Mel's, the white trews, a candy-striped bolero, and even mimics Mel's perky manner.
She needs him functional enough to contribute scientific data, but docile enough to be controlled. It's a very fine line she's walking.
And the moment he wakes up, his confusion is total. He's struggling to even define his own existence. He's saying, where am I? Who am I? And who are you? You. The Rani. He recognizes the name, the idea of her, but all the context is gone.
It's the clinical precision of the amnesia that is so fascinating here. His mind is just grasping for language, but the structures are broken. We see it in the bizarre, twisted logic of his speech.
The misquoted proverbs.
Exactly. It's pure linguistic instability. Instead of fit as a fiddle, he says he's fit as a trombone. He worries about a bull in a barbershop.
And later he comes out with that strange maxim, exchange is no mockery. You feel my pulse.
It's just, the Time Lord, famous for his perfect vocabulary and intellectual control, is genuinely dangerously scrambled. He's a walking lexicon of non sequiturs.
And because he's in that state, he doesn't recognize his own new face. When he sees his reflection, he is absolutely horrified. He cries out, no wonder I've lost my memory.
Followed by that classic dramatic demand. I want all mirrors removed from the TARDIS henceforth. The fact that he despises his new 5'6" appearance is just this fantastic piece of internal conflict, and it's all fueled by the amnesia and the trauma.
This internal turmoil is exactly what the Rani is counting on. But her scheme has a flaw. She doesn't know Mel as well as she thinks she does.
Right. She tries to maintain the charade, but the real Mel's characteristics keep briefly resurfacing in his mind. He remembers their little running gag about her having a memory like an elephant.
But the critical crack in her illusion, the tiny one, comes from something as mundane as diet.
Carrot juice.
Carrot juice. The Rani, disguised as Mel, tries to test him. She suggests carrot juice was his favorite drink. And the doctor, whose core instincts are still totally intact, he just snaps back instantly. Favorite? I hate carrot juice.
And that one single detail, that minor dietary preference, it throws the Rani completely. It's the first real clue for us, for you listening, that her sophisticated illusion is built on a really weak foundation.
It forces you to realize that while she is a genius in physics and chemistry, she is terrible at human, or I should say, Time Lord behavioral studies.
And even under the drug's influence, his core brilliance can't be suppressed. While he's wandering the lab, driven by this sort of scientific instinct, he notices two crucial clues.
The first one is the source of the attack itself, the weapon used to hijack the TARDIS.
He immediately recognizes it, a navigational guidance system distorter. So he knows it was intentional. He realizes a device like that could suck any passing spacecraft out of the sky. It's a tool of piracy, not defense.
But the more alarming clue is on the monitor screen. It's showing Lakertya being orbited by this dark, forbidding asteroid. When he examines the calculations on the screen, he reads the compositional data.
Quarks, one up, one down, or one strange matter.
The shock is palpable, even in his diminished state. Let's just pause here because this isn't just jargon. For you listening, we really need to stress how devastating strange matter is. The source material confirms it's an incredibly dense form of matter.
To put that density into context for you, if you could somehow isolate a cubic meter of this stuff, so think about the size of a large industrial refrigerator, it would weigh more than the entire planet Earth.
It is a hyper-compressed, world-ending power. So the doctor instantly knows the Rani isn't just dabbling in theoretical science. She's building a superweapon that violates every single known ethical boundary.
And it also tells you something about her confidence, or maybe her arrogance. To be orbiting a small planet with that much strange matter suggests she is absolutely certain of her ability to control the forces she's unleashing.
She is operating at a scale of cosmic arrogance that is genuinely terrifying. And that arrogance leads us directly to her testing ground, the planet Lakertya.
The Rani definitely didn't choose Lakertya for its beauty, that's for sure. The planet is immediately established as this desolate, almost monochromatic place. It's barren, treeless, boulder-strewn.
And ridged by grassless stratified granite cliffs, all of it just bathed under this relentless cerise sky. It's basically a perfect blank canvas for a controlled experiment.
And the people, the Lakertyans, they're fascinating and also really tragic. They're humanoid, but they have these unique traits. Mother-of-pearl scales that glimmer under their clothes, spiky golden manes of hair.
And a hint of serpentine ancestry with a vestigial tail remnant. So it tells you they're pretty far removed from standard humanoid evolution.
Politically, though, the Rani sees them as expendable and, more importantly, compliant. She just dismisses them as indolent. She claims their previous regime was too indulgent, which, in her eyes, meant they failed to realize their potential.
Or, more accurately, they failed to resist an occupation.
Exactly. And we see this compliance embodied in their leader, Beyus. He's tall, he's regal, but he's a reluctant collaborator. He's performing these menial, humiliating tasks under her command.
Like feeding the Tetraps.
Yes, feeding the Tetraps this repulsive, thick red plasma that he has to carry in buckets on a yoke. He's doing it not out of any loyalty to the Rani, but out of this desperate, pragmatic desire to protect his people from just being wiped out.
But in the shadow of that collaboration, we find the real resistance in Ikona. He is the dissenting voice, the iconoclast. He refuses to be completely supine.
He represents the idea that their non-aggression is what led to their downfall in the first place. The source material frames his resistance not just as rebellion against the Rani, but as a rebellion against his own people's historical complacency.
And the brutal reality of the occupation is brought home instantly by the death of Sarn, who is Beyus's daughter. She tries to flee the lab, she hits a tripwire, and the Rani's security trap activates.
It creates this opaque plastic bubble around her, which then spins and crashes.
And the mechanism of death is horrifyingly clinical. A metal plate emits an incandescent glowing heat, and it just instantly incinerates her. All that's left behind is an ivory skeleton.
It's a precise, high-heat execution. And this brutal act is the crucible for Beyus's entire moral journey. It forces him to confront the absolute cost of his pragmatism.
Now let's talk about the enforcers, the Tetraps. They are truly the stuff of nightmares. They aren't just guards, they are biological weapons.
The sources detail them as vulpine, rodent-like, half-ape, half-rat bipeds with gangrenous, oily, they're just visually repulsive and aggressive.
But it's their biology that makes them so terrifyingly efficient. Their most unique trait is their vision. They have 4 eyes, which gives them quad view.
What, so like 360-degree vision?
A quartered 360-degree aspect of their surroundings simultaneously. 1 eye is central, 2 are above the ears, and 1 is on the back of the skull, which means there is no blind spot, ever.
Wow. And they hunt using this vision in conjunction with a bat-like radar system, right?
Exactly. And their weapon of choice, the net gun, is equally unpleasant. Wispy electronic, emitting sparks, and these glittering webs that can stun or kill. It's a quick, silent, and highly effective immobilization tool.
What's so fascinating, though, is that the solution to this seemingly perfect defense comes from native Lakertyan ingenuity. Ikona discovers their critical weakness.
Right. During a later confrontation, he lobs these old carnival fireworks into the air. The fireworks disintegrate, and they release shimmering strips of foil.
It's basically a low-tech, reflective countermeasure, a kind of chaff.
Precisely. It disrupts the Tetraps' bat-like radar and optics, causing havoc with their 360-degree vision. It effectively blinds them and throws their entire defense system into chaos.
Which really highlights that while the Lakertyans may have been indolent, they weren't stupid. They just lacked the motivation until this point.
But the Rani's control mechanisms are the true measure of her scientific evil. She doesn't just rely on the Tetraps. She uses targeted scientific terror. She ensures she maintains subjugation through the threat of precise, selective retribution.
She has 2 primary methods for this.
The first is biological terror. Genetically engineered, mutated hornets. These are housed inside what was once the local social hub, the center of leisure. It's a former place of pleasure that now has this large, revolving, multifaceted globe inside.
The horror is in the spectacle of it. When the Rani needs to make an example of a dissident, she stops the revolving globe, and that signals the attack. The hornets fly out, they inflict a piercing sting that kills the victim, the insect, instantly.
It's swift, it's visible, and it's utterly undeniable.
And we see this with Lanisha, who's Ikona's brother. He's instantly slain after Ikona is seen trying to rally the Lakertyans. This demonstration of power isn't just punishment, it's a piece of political theater. It's designed to ensure absolute obedience from a population that fears direct physical confrontation.
And her second, equally crucial mechanism are the silver bangles. These are strapped to the ankles of key Lakertyans, like Faroon and the sage Aragon, and these bangles are remote controlled.
Via a miniature computer bracelet, the one that Urak, the Tetrap leader, wears a facsimile of.
It's a brilliant piece of control technology. Upon activation, they generate an intense, incinerating heat. A person wearing one is instantly turned into an ivory skeleton.
So it's the same high heat mechanism that killed Sarn. It means any Lakertyan, at any moment, can be executed with just the push of a button.
The bangles are a failsafe. They're a constant threat of collective or selective extermination. And they ensure the leadership and the influential members of society remain completely compliant. So the political landscape is crystal clear. The Rani has leveraged scientific terror and brutal, highly efficient enforcers to maintain total compliance from a complacent population.
She's stripped them of their agency and forced their leader into collaboration. But this level of control, it has to have an equally massive payoff, right? She didn't go to all this trouble just to feed Tetraps red plasma.
Not at all. And that brings us to the grand scale of her ambition. Why she needed Lakertya, and why she needed 11 of history's greatest minds.
This is where we really transition from a political thriller into something cosmic. We enter this adjacent subterranean arcade, which the source material chillingly describes as an abysmal parade.
And it is chilling, because this parade is made up of 12 cabinets, or you could call them reclining sarcophagi.
Yeah.
And these cabinets house history's greatest intellectual capital, individuals she has plucked out of time at the height of their powers.
The list is a who's who of Western scientific and philosophical thought. You've got Louis Pasteur, the microbiologist, Charles Darwin, the originator of evolutionary theory,
and critically, Professor Albert Einstein, the man recognized as the originator of the theory of relativity and father of nuclear physics. She is literally harvesting genius.
But it's the process that separates her from a simple kidnapper. These geniuses aren't just imprisoned, they are anesthetized and actively hooked up. They're connected via cables and these polyethylene collars to pyramidal machines in the laboratory.
The ultimate goal isn't to force them to write equations on a blackboard. It's to tap their active brain activity, the instantaneous neurological firing that creates insight, and to synthesize refined scientific data immediately from that.
She's crowdsourcing discovery. She's treating history's greatest minds like living biological components in a supercomputer.
And the doctor himself, as a Time Lord, is slated to be the 12th specimen.
And why him specifically?
Because the Rani requires a final, non-Earth-based perspective. She needs his unique conceptual understanding of the properties of time. That's the last critical piece of data she needs for her formula.
Okay, so let's visualize the machinery in the lab itself. The whole system is built around 4 small pyramids.
Right. 2 of them house inert megabyte computers. One is charred from a previous explosion, which kind of hints at the instability of her work. And the 4th is a crystal tank. And that tank contains the base material for the synthesized brain.
This base material is described as a fermenting soup of a speckled magenta and gray glutinous liquid.
And that liquid is channeled directly into the crucial spherical chamber, which holds the nerve center of the entire operation. A massive, pulsating, 3-meter-high brain. This is literally the central processing unit for rewriting the entire universe.
The sheer hubris of this setup is just breathtaking.
Yep.
And the Rani's objective is revealed through this mesmerizing hologram inside that chamber. It's not just about blowing up the nearby asteroid, it's about weaponizing the entire planet of Lakertya.
The plan is multi-phased, and it requires cosmic precision. Phase 1. Detonate the strange matter asteroid, which, as we said, holds the power of a supernova at the precise moment of the Lakertyan solstice, when the asteroid is closest to her complex.
Phase 2. The resulting blast of gamma rays hits the Lakertyan atmosphere. This energy, combined with the output from the massive synthesized brain, the primate cortex fed by the collective genius, is meant to multiply and fill the space between the planet and a newly formed shell of chronons.
Okay, let's pause on that for a second. We can't just throw around a word like chronons. Chronons are discrete particles of time. They're essentially the fundamental unit of temporal measurement. The Rani isn't just manipulating space, she's manipulating the very fabric of existence.
So she's creating a time bubble around the planet.
A very specific kind. And the formation of this chronon shell requires an astronomical amount of energy. She plans to achieve this by reenacting the conditions of the leptonic era, the microsecond after the Big Bang, characterized by mind-boggling temperatures and energy levels.
So she's literally trying to replicate creation on a micro scale.
That's it. This energy surge allows the production of the substance helium-2, which then fuses with the upper atmosphere to form the chronon shell.
So if you connect all the steps, the strange matter detonation, the gamma rays, the synthetic brine input, and the leptonic era energy, the result is that Lakertya will be transformed into a time manipulator.
It becomes a cerebral mass of pure intellect and focused temporal particles capable of dominating and controlling time anywhere in the cosmos. This is the ultimate expression of her megalomania. She doesn't want money or power. She wants cosmic control over evolution itself.
And her explicit intention is revealed in her rationale. She wants to introduce order into what she sees as chaotic, messy evolution. She intends to redirect evolution on Earth, for example, by returning it to the Cretaceous age.
So think about what that means for you, the listener. Figures like Shakespeare, Einstein, even Elvis would simply cease to have ever existed. The Rani believes the potential of dinosaurs was never fully exploited, and she intends to exploit it now. Her timeline is simply superior to ours.
But this entire grand device, it relies on one thing: calculation. The genius brain is basically a specialized supercomputer tasked with finding the formula for exploding strange matter using a lightweight substitute.
Right, she can't detonate the asteroid with strange matter itself. It's too dense and unstable. She needs a trigger.
And the process reaches its climax when the Doctor is forced to contribute his unique Time Lord understanding. Even in his semi-amnesiac state, his innate genius is tapped when he gets connected to the collective consciousness.
The 11 captured geniuses are already engaged in this manic, synthesized debate, a babble of outrageous polemics. God does not play with dice.
The brain is trying to process these conflicting streams to reach the final equation, and the Doctor, reacting instinctively to what he perceives as a mathematical error, provides the final key. The synthetic voice intones part of the formula.
87 to the power of 19e, correlated with 52 to the power of 6.4 equals 29v.
And the Doctor, without even thinking, corrects the number, 39. And then too late, he realizes his error. He has given the genius brain the final variable it needed.
With that final correction, the synthesized voice just shouts, 39 to the power of v plus w eureka, objective achieved. The formula is instantly complete.
And this formula yields the crucial ingredient, Leuhargel, a globule of glistening phosphorescent alloy.
Leuhargel is the precise, lightweight detonator for the strange matter asteroid. It is the single ingredient that makes the entire time manipulator scheme viable. With the Leuhargel secured and the rocket launch breach and the spherical chamber ready, the countdown at cosmic destruction officially begins.
The stakes just could not be higher. So the Doctor now has to escape a situation he just inadvertently helped create, all while struggling with amnesia and a new body. So we move now to the counterplan and the moral decision at the center of this whole conflict.
The Doctor realizes that the Rani is pure scientific logic. So to defeat her, he needs to introduce chaos and psychology, the very things she despises. He uses the sheer force of dissenting genius to his advantage.
Having been connected to the collective consciousness, the Doctor's chaotic, eccentric nature spreads through the synthesized network like a virus. He disconnects himself and encourages the 11 captured geniuses to engage in this frenetic, manic debate, deliberately pushing their arguments to the point of absurdity.
We hear the results of this multiple schizophrenia. The genius brain starts receiving contradictory data streams. The uncertainty principle is a superstition of the scientifically inept, battling with, does that mean the faster a fat man runs, the fatter he will get?
It's a fantastic metaphor for intellectual meltdown. The genius brain just seizes up, throbbing ominously, and the machines start to overheat.
In the chaos, the Doctor, showing incredible agility despite his new body, springs his own cabinet door open using a penknife he'd inserted into the latch. He then physically grabs the flustered Rani and stuffs her into the now empty cabinet.
It's a delicious moment of karmic retribution, but it's incomplete. Mel suggests, switch on, give her a taste of her own medicine.
But the Doctor, ever the eccentric moralist, refuses. He quotes another one of his garbled proverbs: "Two wrongs don't make a left turn." He leaves the Rani trapped, thrashing inside her own experimental cage, but he leaves her unharmed. His goal isn't revenge, it's neutralization.
And with the Rani temporarily neutralized, the Doctor immediately starts gathering the items he'll need for his final gambit, demonstrating his brilliant resourcefulness by just using materials at hand.
He gets three key components. First, he wrenches a component from the machinery, the microthermistor, sabotaging the device further. He knows the Rani won't have a spare and will be delayed fixing the central system.
Smart.
Second, he pockets a flask with a rococo stopper, which contains the antidote for those killer globe insects, the hornets.
And third, he secures a net gun. He had cleverly tucked this away after a fungal-coated Tetrap guard, a victim of the Rani's own toxic concoction that had bloomed into spontaneous fungal growth, slumped to the floor.
So now he has a specialized weapon, a defensive antidote, and a crucial component to aid his escape.
The next step is critical: mobilizing the Lakertyans. They're still paralyzed by the threat of selective retribution from those silver bangles. This requires technical expertise and bravery, and Mel is the perfect person for the job.
They race to the center of leisure and literally tear a video game from its moorings. Mel, using her background as a computer analyst, strips a coaxial lead and uses it as her tool.
And she delicately uses this lead to bypass the lethal circuitry of the silver bangles.
The process is meticulous. She creates a tiny loop between two minute terminals on the bangles so that the circuit isn't broken when the bangle is opened. This high-stakes, highly technical operation works perfectly. Faroon, Beyus' consort, is the first to be freed.
Mel's success allows the subdued Lakertyans to finally mobilize and follow the Doctor's complex plan. They create a diversionary force while the countdown is still ticking down. But this leads us to the heart of the moral conflict: Beyus' choice.
Beyus has spent this entire story as a collaborator, trying to save his people through pragmatism. But now, seeing the Rani's ambition to wipe out all life on Lakertya, he realizes he was just trading short-term lives for the total destruction of his world.
This forces a painful, catastrophic volte-face.
He accepts the Doctor's complex and deadly final instruction. It's an act of necessary atonement for his past collaboration and for the tragic, needless death of his daughter Sarn.
The Doctor has secured all the freed bangles, linking them together on his open umbrella, ready for deployment.
And it's Beyus who helps the Doctor hook these bejeweled silver bangles over the golden railing that surrounds the massive magenta brain. These bangles, designed for selective execution, are now positioned to destroy the very mechanism of control.
Then comes the ultimate act of self-sacrifice. Beyus deliberately delays exiting the chamber. He jams the door with the Doctor's furled umbrella, trapping himself inside along with the newly freed Rani and Uruk. He seals his own fate.
The Rani, now back in the lab and seeing the Doctor's challenge, a circle of her own instruments of terror placed around her most vital machine, is absolutely furious. She viciously stabs the button on her computer bracelet that's intended to activate the bangles on the Lakertyans.
She's yelling, "You imbecile! You've signed their death warrants!"
But the Doctor has calculated her rage. Since the bangles are now wrapped around the brain's gantry, her act of retribution triggers the backfire. The resulting searing white heat causes a devastating multiple explosion that consumes the pulsating brain, destroys the spherical chamber, and neutralizes the Loy-Hargul detonator.
And Beyus pays the ultimate price, dying alongside the device he helped create and destroy, leaving behind only a tattered orange cloak. It's the tragic end of a good man who made a bad choice for what he thought was the right reason and found redemption in its reversal.
The destruction of that cerebral mass achieves its immediate primary goal, which is neutralizing the Loy-Hargul and sabotaging the solstice deadline. However, the sheer chaos of the explosion causes this strange temporal hiccup.
The explosion jolts the voice synthesizer for the launch countdown. The system, which had been halted by the Doctor's mechanical sabotage, inadvertently reactivates and catches up to the current time.
4, 2, 2, 1, liftoff.
The GTA rocket launches immediately, accelerating through Mach 1 and Mach 2, heading straight for the strange matter asteroid. But because the Doctor's internal struggle, the amnesia, the sabotage, and Beyus' sacrifice created a crucial, necessary delay of just a few minutes.
The launch misses its intended solstice synchronization point. Because of that timing error, the rocket misses the asteroid entirely. It leaves the strange matter mass to become a dwindling nomad hurtling into the infinite void of space.
So the planetary threat is averted not by flawless precision, but by accumulated delay and chaos.
And now for the delightful twist of pure poetic justice, the Rani's fate. She's a consummate realist. She realizes Lakertya is now a lost cause and her time manipulator is destroyed, so she retreats to her TARDIS, disguised as a pyramid, intending to flee.
But Urak, the calculating Tetrap leader, had been squatting nearby, listening to the final confrontation. He heard the Rani coldly confirm that exterminating all Lakertian life was merely an unfortunate side effect necessary for her experiment.
So Urak realizes the Rani is without conscience and would eventually dispose of the Tetraps as well once they stop being useful.
He revolts. It's a mutiny driven by pure self-preservation. He captures the Rani, paralyzing her with a quick, venomous tongue flick. It renders her body rigid but leaves her conscious.
He then transports her, suspended upside down, to his home planet, Tetraperiarbis.
And this is just pure, direct karmic mirroring. Urak has now graduated to master by applying the Rani's own ruthless logic. He intends to use her incredible brain to solve the Tetraps' own fundamental resource issues, to conquer their needs and provide plasma in abundance.
She is now the specimen for her former pawn.
The Doctor, meanwhile, has to tie up the loose ends of time. He uses the TARDIS to return the 11 captured geniuses, including Einstein and Pasteur, to the exact moment before their capture.
And this is crucial. It ensures the adventure that never happened for them, preventing major paradoxes and preserving the established timeline.
Finally, we see the lasting legacy on Lakertya, and this is maybe the most profound part of this whole deep dive. The Doctor, having secured the world, gets out the Rococo-stoppered flask with the antidote for the killer hornets, and he hands it to Ikona.
But Ikona, the iconoclast and now leader of the newly freed Lakertians, he accepts the flask, removes the stopper,
and immediately empties the entire contents onto the ground. Mel is, understandably, furious. She's yelling, "You're impossible, why did you do that?"
and Faroon provides the explanation. She highlights this fundamental shift in Lakertian philosophy, catalyzed by the violence they've witnessed and by Beyus's ultimate sacrifice. She explains that Ikona believes their people must meet their own challenges if they are to survive.
They're rejecting dependency.
They're saying they no longer want the easy fix or the benevolent intervention of a Time Lord. They want to face the threat of the remaining Hornets, and by extension, the challenge of rebuilding their society on their own terms. This shift toward resilience is the long-term legacy of the occupation.
So what does this all mean for us? We've navigated a scenario that blended amnesia and identity crisis with the theoretical physics of strange matter and chronons. We saw scientific brilliance pitted directly against compassionate eccentricity.
Where the true turning point wasn't a superior weapon, but intellectual chaos and selfless sacrifice.
We witnessed the horrors of scientific evil in the Rani's calculated subjugation, and we saw a community shift its entire philosophical foundation from one of indulgence and dependency to one of hard-won self-reliance.
And the final provocative takeaway comes from the Doctor himself. He's commenting on Ikona's stubborn refusal of the easy solution, and he says, "You know, Mel, Ikona reminds me of myself when I was his age."
So consider this. The Doctor, despite all his incredible power, is an external agent. If a community needs to face its own crises, overcome its historical complacency, and truly build resilience through struggle, as Beyus' sacrifice finally enabled them to do, is intervention, even benevolent intervention from a Time Lord, ever truly helpful in the long run?
Or does it merely perpetuate the cycle of dependency? Ikona's refusal to accept the antidote, choosing the path of self-reliance and struggle, it raises the profound question of whether that philosophical choice wasn't the ultimate, wisest evolution for Lakertya's future.